The sort of architecture of original circus gives me this feeling of one tent and one community under this tent performing and, you know, sustaining themselves as one entity. So it's sort of the membrane is the tent itself. So there's a warm community feeling?
I would say it's a quite warm community. And since it's so undefined, it's also like, I mean, what is circus and what I mean, it's performing strange things, or I mean, it could be, so.
Yeah.
So I think everybody's welcome in that sense.
That strangeness somehow is super warm, and I had such an emotional reaction to watching these things, and then like when I did the excavation of these emotions, I sort of realized that it was because like in a world where everything had to justify its existence, you know, this like strange thing, you know, living alive, being alive and well, that sort of like proved that it doesn't have to be like, you know, that rational or mechanistic as you know, the system dictates most of the time. So like that kind of gave me hope, I guess.
The core that we find is like why we are doing circus. It's not to like, for us it's not to we don't want to impress people. It's more, it's like a lifestyle and we have to do it. It's like we can't imagine anything else.
Yeah. So the tricks are sort of moving from a physical realm to, you know, a performance on the metaphysical, almost like.
In this performance, it's a bit like this, yes. I mean, it's like we are struggling with a lot of things. We are getting older. We have 2 children now, so it's really hard to keep up this physical level that we had before. To something that it's more sustainable for us and our bodies. And then it felt so like, okay, is it, I mean, we've been doing this for 20 years. Is it really just our bodies that are like circus artists, or have we actually something, you know, have we developed something here, and like the relation, and so that was kind of the main reason why we started to do this performance. I mean, you have an idea and you have like things that you want to visualize, but it's not always that you have words on them before you have done it. It's like more in your head, and you want to make them, you know, on the floor and without having to put words on them before you even try them.
And what do you have in your head? Non-verbal?
Yeah, it can be non-verbal, really. It can be like you have this vision of a picture, just like us and the light and the, you know, you have just the image. I mean, you can't even write that down, your picture in the head.
Right. The logic of your practice doesn't fit the logic of bureaucracy in this case, I guess.
No, exactly.
The dream would be to be able to design, you know, your own bureaucracy for your own practice.
Yeah, I mean, that would be...
Yeah. And I think inside of that you can have these type of sensitivities about, you know, training versus performance, being sentient of that, or the producers being attributed correctly. There should be an alternative mode of production that makes people feel more safe, that makes people create more collaboratively through that safety and so on. So Sphere as an objective has at its core this communityness and this alternative mode of production of contemporary circus arts. And I think creating that free spirit of creation, it's very important that we reconcile with this concept of like what is the creative process, who owns what in that creative process, or is there any need for ownership during that phase?
Because as an acrobat, you're creating material, but you also learn from a tradition that is like already, you know, it's some certain moves that are like basics. And then of course some develop their own things. And it's the same for me and Henrik. Of course we develop our like specific moves and stuff, but I believe that if you start to be too afraid to protect your things, then it also could create a really bad atmosphere, I think, if everybody tried to hide their, like, I mean, then you can't even practice together, because then it's like, oh, what are they doing? And I think that could be a sad development.
The sort of architecture of original circus gives me this feeling of you know, one tent and one community under this tent performing and, you know, sustaining themselves as one entity. So it's sort of the membrane is the tent itself. So yeah, we're just trying to find the material, the legal material that could make up the textile of that tent. So Sphere as an objective has at its core this communityness and this alternative mode of production of contemporary circus arts. And I think creating that free spirit of creation, financially, creatively, you know, and in terms of accreditation and so on. So this IP person, Rafael, he sort of laid out the existing models that the industry is using to protect rights, and with those primitives, as we call, which are like sort of like tricks, you know, with those tricks we try to assemble something that would create an interior where people would feel free, but everything that is created inside this interior would be protected outside of it. So if you would come into this sphere, say, you know, your training space, if you would come in here, then you would be free to practice whatever you want. You would feel free to use, reuse, remix, whatever that you see inside there. But everything that is protected, everything that is produced there is protected outside of it, but as a common entity in a sense.
is love.